So today we're going to talk a little bit about connection. And connection is kind of an elusive item in many ways, because when we want something and we want a connection, that means we are busy pursuing something. And when we're pursuing, we're not allowing anything to come. And so connection is about opening ourselves up to be able to receive and giving ourselves the awareness and the understanding of what we want to connect with. And so to kind of back up and talk about that a little bit. So, everybody is very familiar with seen, heard, felt, and understood. And so let's just say you have your halter in hand and you're going to catch your horse. So your focus is on catching your horse. So that means, halter in hand, you're heading out there to catch your horse. And because you have that thought process about catching your horse, that focus takes away from receiving the information that the horse is sending. So unknowingly, when you're 50 yards away, your horse may be signaling to you that I'm not in the mood for this, and you miss that, and you just carry on. And next thing, the horse puts his ears back and snakes you a look and wanders off. And now you get more determined than ever to catch the horse, because, how dare the horse do that? And so at the end of the day, by the time we've caught the horse, we have shown the horse in many, many different avenues that we didn't see it, we didn't feel it, we didn't hear it, and we certainly didn't understand it. And so the horse in that moment, it has no reason to vest into any kind of relationship with you, other than a relationship that may be based on, I'll do whatever I need to do as well as I can do it, as quick as I can do it, so that I can get put back out in the pasture. And, we've termed that learned helplessness. And so I'm going to bounce now to the couple on the dance floor. So when you watch a couple dance, there are those that are extremely good at dancing, and then there are those that seem to create magic on the dance floor. So the couple that's creating the magic, they have opened themselves up totally to each other, and they are sensing and feeling and hearing, and that is allowing them to feel moment by moment what needs to happen, what needs to take place, and so they are totally working in unison and together. Whereas the couple, even though they're extremely good, they're going off hours and hours and hours of practice. Well, as soon as one falters, that whole amount of practice falls to bits. And that's the difference. And so when we're talking about connection, we're talking about opening ourselves up to awareness, no judgment, no expectations, because we'll bounce back to the dancing. So I'm into dancing, and I'm going to say, hey, let's come dance with me. And you flub the first few moves, and I say to you, that's okay, we have all day, we can stay here till you get it. Well, the next day when you see me, I'm pretty sure you're not going to be all gung-ho about dancing. I'm pretty sure you're going to be thinking now, well, how can I avoid her? Because that's not how I want to be spending my afternoon. So there are many times when I go out to go for a ride, and my horse says to me, yeah, well, that's your plan, not mine. And so I have to come up with a way to get my horse to meet me in the same place where I'm at. And so sometimes that means we have a conversation. And I don't mean the kind of conversation where I'm trying to tell him, well, this is how it's going to go down, buddy. I pay for the food, so this is what you owe me. So sometimes that ride might be delayed. And sometimes that ride just might not happen how I had originally intended. So maybe instead that ride starts developing all around, well, let's just kind of go out here and we're going to go eat some green grass and we're going to go enjoy ourselves and spend some time together. And quite often, when I take the time to be doing those things, my horse gets on the same page. And then there we are. Now we're going on the ride together. Does the snow fall off the roof? Scary thing. And so at the end of the day, I have to ensure that my horse knows that I see the signs that it's giving me. I can feel the change in the energy, and I can feel the change in the emotions. And it has to know as well that I understand what all of those things mean. And if I don't understand, I'm willing to learn. And sometimes that means I have to throw all of my thoughts in the back seat, because each horse is an individual, just as each human is an individual. And as soon as I start trying to think, well, I kind of know how this is going to come out, or this is how this is going to go down, well, I am shutting off avenues of openness, and I am shutting off avenues for connection. And so as time progresses, and you keep working at learning what my horse is saying, what my horse is feeling, and showing them that you do get it and you do understand, and you have a conversation, it becomes like that dance couple. And you'll have fleeting moments where it's just magical. And that creates another problem, because as a human, once you felt that magic, now you want that magic. So now you go out there looking for that magic. And because you're desiring it, you're shutting off the avenues to receive it. And that's what makes connection so difficult. We have to learn how to exist in the moment, because that magic only happens when we're experiencing the moment with our horse in the same time, in that moment, together. And at some point, your horse is going to start to realize the strengths that you bring to the relationship. And as you get to know your horse better, you get to know the strengths that your horse brings to the relationship. And as the relationship grows and develops, you start to understand that you're better together than alone. And your horse understands this concept very, very well because of their herd dynamics. And so if your horse feels safer with you, now they have an extremely vested interest in growing a relationship. And when both of you meet on that same page and that vested interest is the same, then you start entering into a partnership. And that's when connection has the most magic. On those days, when you're having a shitty day, your horse picks up the slack. And on other days, when your horse is having a shitty day, you pick up the slack. Because now your goal is vested in the unit, the partnership, because of the value that it brings to both of you. And so, connection doesn't happen overnight. First, you have to learn about yourself. You have to learn about your blocks. You have to learn about the energy that you're bringing forward. You have to learn how that's being interpreted by your horse. And as you're learning all of this, it can't become a big checklist. Well, now I have to fix this and now I have to fix that, because now, again, your focus is somewhere else rather than being totally open and able to receive. So if you're going out to catch your horse and you change it to I am going to spend time with my horse, and my goal is to have my horse catch me. So now that sets up a whole different scenario, because now you have to read your horse. Because if you want your horse to catch you, your horse has to have a desire to come to you. So that means learning their language becomes way more important. Rather than when we're going to catch the horse, it's about what we're doing to get the horse. And so when I'm teaching my Partner Up program, it's all about developing awareness and the openness and the freedom of judgment and of expectation and all of those things. And I'm not saying that you don't have expectations and all of those, but when you're searching for connection, being free to read what's in front of you, to play with that and explore each other should take the priority. Once I have a connection with the horse, I rarely have any issues that I need to work on. The horse does something that I don't find pleasurable, my energy changes. The horse reads that immediately. The horse tries something else and I approve. My energy immediately changes because now we've synchronized and we're feeling each other. We're in the same moment together. We're existing together. And so the change in my energy may not be noticeable to the outside eye, but my horse notices it. Just like I notice the slightest little change in the jaw, the slightest little tip in the ear, or maybe the slightest little pressure that starts to crease up on the neck, or the flank that doesn't breathe as freely. So I notice all of these things, and so my horse is telling me. So then I change so that we get each other feeling totally safe and free to be who we are and bring out the best in each other. And that's, to me, is where the magic happens. So then when I'm on the lead line and my horse is walking too fast, I pretty much just have to say, yeah, you're walking too fast. And they give me the look, and then they back off, and now they keep checking because they're waiting to know if they've responded. And so it's continually a dance. It's continually being open. It's continually checking in to see what they're saying and being aware and doing it within that moment. Not letting the tightness grow to the point where now there's tight throughout the body and the lips tight. So yeah, so what I really wanted to talk about today was just how important connection is, and it's a process, and it's the freedom of judgment, the freedom of time. When you're working or doing something with another human being or a horse or a dog or a cat, time should not be a factor. It should not be, well, I need to get this and this and this done because that's the time that I have today. Because that, then there's no other route but to be a drill sergeant because you're on a time constraint, and now you need to push things to meet your time constraint. And so, as always, I welcome all questions and I'm open to questions, and if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. So the next 3 clips, communications between me and the horses, and I'm trying to demonstrate how that communication builds a relationship and the horse's sense of safety. So the first clip, Ryder is the bay, Raven is the black, and Izzy is the gray. And so I'm standing with my coat wrapped around me, and I chose that coat because they've never seen the coat before, so I knew they'd be curious about the coat. And so as we progress through watching this, you get to notice how the horses are playing with my coat and pulling on my coat and investigating my coat. And when they bite too hard on my coat, you know, I bring my hand around and I'm telling them that, no, that's not okay. So then you get to see how they start learning where to grab on the coat. And once they learn that if they touch on the coat and then, you know, I go to pet them, then you'll get to see if I pet them and they don't really like that touch, how quickly they move their head away from that touch. But if I find a spot that they really like, then they really push into the spot. And so as this communication progresses, I want you to pay attention to how the horses start to yawn and how relaxed they start to get. And so even when the ice falls off the roof and makes horrendous noise, nobody really bats an eyelash, and it doesn't interrupt the yawn. And so it means in communicating, I've created an exceptionally safe place for them. They feel so safe, they're not worried about external events or what's going on. And why this is so important is because, you know, people talk about separation anxiety as an example. Well, when your horse feels this safe in your presence, separation anxiety does not exist. And so this is why, you know, I talk so much about the communicating back and forth, building that relationship, setting the parameters for in which you're going to communicate with each other, learning from each other, so that that space is totally safe. And so as you watch through the clip, I hope that you pick up on a bunch of these little things as we move through. So now, as an example, Raven's standing right here, and Raven's, you know, that close. And so now, if I'm going just to move my hand towards Raven, Raven's going to have an expression. There's going to be some sort of reaction. And so I'm going to move my hand. And so Raven's ear came forward, saw my hand move. One ear is moving forward, one's moving back. The head level never changed. The eye is on me on this side. So now, if I go to stand up, I just moved a bit. Now both ears are on me. They're watching me, seeing what I'm doing. And so when Raven goes to look away, that's already telling me that I've put more pressure than what Raven is willing to accept in that moment. And so if I want Raven to come to me, that means my job then is to, you know, drop the level of pressure that I have. And I did that by lowering my eyes, and now Raven comes to me. And so this is what I'm talking about making sure you read your horse, you understand what your horse is saying, because this is what you're going for. And so now we have Izzy here. And so she's getting inquisitive towards me. Letting her sniff me. Now she wants to play with my lovey a little bit. And so if I move quickly, you can see her ear goes back, she turns her head away. So if I take that pressure back off and I bring it back into me, her head will come back around. And so now I can play and see, you know, where her tolerance level is. And so, you know, just that little bit of movement, she moved back away. So now if I bring my energy back in and I even get smaller and I wait, there's a chance she's going to come back and investigate. She's thinking about it. And us as humans, our first reaction is to, because she's close, to want to come up and do something like this. But in reality, we should let them make the move and come to us, because as you can see, she moved off, and part of that's from the barrel and the other horse, but it's still pushing into a space when you weren't invited, and it has the opposite effect of what you're going for. Thanks again for watching, and as I said earlier, I love answering questions, so if you have a question, you can look me up on my Facebook, Partner Up Program, or go to my website, Partner Up Program. Anyhow, it's been a pleasure. Have a great day.